You're listening to Accents, a radio show for literature, art, and culture. I'm your host, Katerina Stoikova, and my guest today is poet Eric Scott Sutherland. Hi, Eric, how are you?
I'm doing fine, Katerina. Thank you.
You have been on the show quite a few times, I think, and you were, I think, the second guest ever in 2009.
Thousands of years ago, yes.
It does feel like a very different time, right? It was like practically another life.
Yeah, you posted that. You aired the Stars with Accents reading, and
Yeah.
I caught a lot of that, and it was like, wow, that was, 11 years is lifetimes.
And all of us were different people, seems like.
We
Don't you think?
were.
Yeah,
We were
yeah.
a lot less experience, right?
Yeah, I guess a lot less experience, maybe a lot more naivete in a best possible way, right?
Right.
Um,
Yeah.
but I'm personally really glad to be where I am right now and to not have this 11 years ahead of me.
To slog through,
Yes,
absolutely.
yes,
Yes.
yes, yes.
Just
Well,
ink.
here,
You see those gray hairs? Yeah.
yeah, I don't know anything about gray hairs.
Like, they're fine.
Yeah. Well, Eric Scott Sutherland is one of my most favorite people in the world. He has authored 5 collections of poetry, including Earth is My Church, released in early 2020. An arborist working to protect and care for trees and wild places in the region, he makes a home in the heart of Lexington, Kentucky, with his wife, son, and pets. How have you been, Eric? What have you been writing?
Well, like everyone, been dealing with quarantine life, um, employment issues, um, how to not go crazy at home issues. Um, it's not all been negative. I got a lot done in spring and early summer around the house. A lot of projects that I had wanted to accomplish, and lots of time outside. Had a great garden. Still have a garden going. Um, just trying to adapt. Stay positive. Looking forward to casting my vote, and hopefully better days on the horizon.
Yeah. And what about your writing?
Obviously had a book come out right before the pandemic hit, and thank goodness there was a release party.
Yes,
I know a
yes.
lot of authors are dealing with right now. So, I've scratched here and there, writing about the experience of quarantine, and what that means. I also had already had some work that's more pertinent to the current political situation, the Black Lives Matter protests, that were kind of a part of this little small chapbook, maybe you'd call it. Didn't really know what to do with it. And so I've sort of been working on that as a bigger manuscript.
Mm-hmm.
I'd be a liar if I said that I'd really been doing a lot of work. It's been a lot of childcare, a lot of hustling, trying to get work done within a certain amount of hours, and then all the other things that go with being at home. But I have been trying to get that into some kind of place where I can start submitting it, possibly. But it's kind of unusual for me because I've crammed 3 different ideas into one collection at this point. Not sure if that'll hold or not, because I've usually been just like kind of a one, book is a topic and kind of framed by that. And this is kind of approaching it from a different angle. and I'll read some of those newer poems. The chapbook was called "Make America Again,"
Ah,
kind of riffing on, the now infamous "Make America Great Again," and then there's a Langston Hughes poem that's kind of similar to that as well, and I use the epigraph for that. But so as far as writing, kind of the typical scratching in my pocket journal as I go, as I'm working, and as I'm trying to catch fish with an 8-year-old, and just trying to move forward as best I can.
please read us some, either or from the book, and I would like to hear anything that you'd like to share with us, Eric.
So, okay. I'm going to start with the newer stuff, and then I'll read some out of the book because it's a great book and everyone should have a copy if you don't have it. Wonderful local press, Accents Publishing. So I'll start with a poem that is in that collection. It wasn't in that small section that I was just talking about, but it fits into the thing, and it was published. It will be in the new Lex Pomo anthology. And it was actually, the beginning was inspired by a Alfred Hitchcock film, and it's called Awkward Scrapes. The madman has such a radiant smile. He's eager to squeeze any soft throat. See, you cannot make a sound when I press here. The forest night bird cries in the city. Could be the little people, misfortune, death. The ambulance and helicopter chatter. Wild things are a scatter, returning home. Chiseling the age off a relic. Chafing knuckles to bloody, weeping scuffs. Deconstructing the new construct. Priming the body for new paint. The flakes fill the trash can like a ditch, overflowing with candy wrappers and bottles. Haven't you had enough? Isn't this sufficient entertainment? After sunset, it is all black and white. The choice is this or that. Suspense is a bright room overrun by shadows. The mystery is known. We are just waiting for the final credits, for the uncovered evidence, for order to be rightfully restored, for the wound to finally heal. These next few that I'll read are from that section, Make America Again. MAGA. MAGA makes me think of maggot. Make America great again, they say. Wear their made in China red hats as a display. And what they mean by it, what dog whistling Dixie signals, is that they wish for a return to the good old days when the only race of consequence was Caucasian, no representation in film, TV, mainstream society, no senators, mayors, presidents, no ball players, no actors, no heroes, no position of power held by a person of color. This one kind of gained new relevance in my mind when our president tear-gassed protesters and showed up in front of a church and held up a Bible. I've hated my own people. The race with pale faces, ghost killers and earth pillagers, enslavers and terrorists who wear white sheets. Whores, warmongering for more. The fourth rider, death with sword, delivering famine and plague. in the revelation on the page, always willing to use the book to justify the crimes and the killing. And in this climate of protest, eventually the nightstick, which is a billy club, eventually the nightstick will no longer differentiate between percent melanin. Instead, it will swing to cull those below the bottom line, the 99%. Most of us, unfortunate, to have allowed the elite few to reach this level of wealth and detachment, of inhumanity, having let them turn us against each other. And I'll read this one as kind of an end of that sharing. You are not welcome here on the heels of the anniversary of the Charlottesville Tiki Torch March, is what I like to call it. Take off your robes and sheets. The veil has dropped, and I want to see your face. Bad cop, criminal, racist, senator, lost sons of the lost cause. We will identify you, everyone. We will hunt you to every corner of the country. You are not welcome here. Your symbols of death and hatred are no different than any other terrorist organization. Stand for murder, genocide, fascism, slavery, oppression, death, treason. There is no reason to fly that flag unless you are confessing to all the crimes that have been committed beneath it. You are not welcome in Charlottesville, Atlanta, Charleston, New Orleans, Pittsburgh, Boston, Louisville, or Lexington. You are not welcome in any city in America. You are not welcome in Germany, Poland, Austria, Czech Republic, Slovakia. Nowhere in Europe will you be safe. You are not welcome in Asia, South America, Africa, Russia, Australia, or Antarctica. No continent is in collusion with your hateful delusions. You are not welcome here or anywhere but a jail cell or the grave. And that's my newer, some newer stuff that's been written in the last 4 years. I'll share a couple of pieces out of my latest book that we've talked about, Earth is My Church. Very proud of this book. It's beautiful. A labor of love that took about a decade or so to come to fruition. And since we're talking about kind of things that are transient, right? All is change. Nothing lasts forever. Surely a moon rules over all this beauty and mess, yes. Feel the tug of a full one just before sunsets on another kaleidoscopic Kentucky afternoon. Threshold upon threshold we cross, hand in hand or severed, but together. Nothing lasts forever. Just ask a mother, a lover, or a mountain. Butterflies have been probably on people's minds, those of us who care about what's outside our door. Big butterfly watcher, insect lover. They didn't show up this year until just recently, and so we were a little worried about what was going on. This poem was written one year where I hadn't seen a monarch butterfly. I've seen a few this year, thank goodness, along with the swallowtails and the fritillaries that have shown up. This poem's called Disappear. Sweeping the dead June bugs off the porch, cicadas click their timbrels from every surrounding canopy. There is a poster of all types of butterflies leaning against brick, a relic of apartment walls, destined for the cabin in Menifee. Swallowtail, fritillary, monarch. A coworker says he hasn't seen one monarch this year. Me neither. Their population fallen by a staggering 90%. The seasons keep racing and the dust accumulates on the porch. Like a good human, I sweep until clean. Every week, fighting what I know deep down is inevitable. The Magus cicada spends most of their lives underground, 13 or 17 years. Into what kind of world will they emerge next time? What magnificent creatures lost forever? This is ink. This is paper. It too will disappear. All right. I think I'll share one more poem. Do I have time for that? This is one I've read a few online things here recently, and kind of enjoy reading this poem. It's a little bit longer, but it's fun. This poem was written a part of a project that happened here in Lexington called the Good Gray Project. It was to commemorate Walt Whitman's birthday. And it was a writer was paired with an artist of some sort, and we were, over a 24-hour period, given an assignment to read in a certain place, or be in a certain place at a certain time of day, observe, write, make our art, right? I was paired up with a photographer. I had two locations. The first was Old Frankfort Pike, which just happens to be my favorite road in central Kentucky. I'm from Shelbyville. That's the road you drive to get from Lexington to there. It's the scenic route. My final destination, so at sunset, I was supposed to travel Old Frankfort Pike and end at the War Memorial Bridge, which is the bridge that leads to the Capitol in Frankfort. If you stand on it, you see the Capitol. And then I was there for an hour or so of darkness. Old Frankfort Pike is a spine of mine. 1. Clash at the edge of scenic corridors. What is called progress is an insatiable force, threatens to move us in reverse. We make the choice, what to preserve, what to destroy, keep driving into the storm. I slow down enough to see herds of whitetail crossing savannas forgotten, undulating pastures haunted by dead giants, rich remnants ruled by chinkapin and burr. 2. The elkhorn holds a secret. I am Pegasus, racing against darkness, my demise, sprinting down limestone-walled backstretches, awakened now as the afternoon dies. Foals nap near their mare mothers, dream or deja vu. Again, I am the hero, confined to the haphazard sprawl of civilization. I scrawl salvation, strategy into the infinity of an empty page. 3. Our state house of weapons looks on, promises there will always be bullets, captives, victors. I capture its image from the shadows. Few remember the dead. Atop the palisade around the bend, tombs and monuments crown the Capitol. Its golden dome glimmers in gray dusk. It's the idea that watches over us. 4. Trees know no night. Where leaders are supposed to lead, the lanterns on the bridge are dim. One woolly mullen makes a home in a crack in a forgotten wall. does not care who calls, charge! I neigh this night song beside a rising river. Oh, sycamores, standing here witness, more majestic than those towers, more commanding than this Capitol, tell brother, sister, box elder, red cedar, to inherit the future with you. I fear we are too hungry for blood, too reliant on war, too committed to ignorance to join you.
Eric, all these are stunning. The new pieces and the classic ones. Let's call them classic ones.
Classic.
Yes, from Earth is My Church. Say something about the cover image.
So this is an image that local artists, husband and wife, Brian and Sarah Turner of Cricket Press, had created. And as we were trying to figure out what to use for the cover, I stumbled across this image and it just spoke volumes to me. Brian and Sarah were actually on the Pine Mountain retreat with me, the very first Pine Mountain Collective retreat. And so this is one of those Pine Mountain pieces of work that they did. So, you know, there's the end poem in this book is about Pine Mountain. It just seemed a fitting way to sum up this book. And so I'm very happy with how it came out. I love the green color, the orange, the person wearing the fox mask. So thank you, Cricket Press.
Absolutely. And you said, well, there were three words that I want to bring out from your reading, which was like a good human.
Right.
And I want us to talk a little bit more about that. What is a good human? What does it mean to be human nowadays? I don't know if we're doing such a good job being human, you know?
And you know, in the context of that poem, I was being a little sarcastic, you know, like, here I am, you know,
Right.
the dust is going to accumulate, right? But man, we got to clean it up. And I think that in the context of being stewards of the earth, our rush to be so clean and sterile and over manicuring our lawns, our lives, you know, on some level, it's been to the detriment of all living things, us included. So in that context of the poem, I was kind of in, you know, like a good human, I'm out here with the broom. But in today's, you know, your question, I think the biggest failure that I see is just this complete breakdown in civility, right? Just, you know, just no respect, disgusting levels of disrespect. I'm struggling for the right. I have very colorful rants, as you can imagine, and you've probably been privy to a few of those. But
plus, we're on the radio, right? We cannot use a lot of, there are words we cannot use here.
Yeah, you know, I'm hemmed in here a little bit by the radio, but I think that just that really the breaking of the golden rule, which to me is kind of the thread that runs through spirituality, all spiritual traditions, right? Treat others as you would want to be treated, and everything's political. Everything is me versus you, whether you put on a mask or not, you know, whether you believe in this or that. I mean, it's, you know, I think that being a good human should be the ability to accommodate our differences respectfully, right? We're not all going to get along. We're not all going to see the same things, see things the same way, but how do we go from...
What do you think of this? You know, first, do no harm, you know,
right.
Because it seems to me like nowadays, no matter how big of a tragedy has happened, somebody is trying to benefit from it.
Yes.
That's what
right.
I have noticed, and I find it deeply disturbing. So maybe we could try to do no harm first, to the best of our abilities as human beings.
You know, as I'm looking at Incommunicado right
Right.
there,
Yeah. Right next to you. Yes.
I recently did a reading for a political fundraising event, okay, online. And it was fun because I read really old stuff because it was in the context of how to be actively engaged in the political process and your community. And there's a poem in that book. And it's, you know, it was written during the Bush administration, right? When we first invaded Iraq, 2007 is when that book came out. And just reading back through that, you know, obviously when we look back at our old work, we wish we could edit, you know, and do it again. But, you know, I write in there about what can bring back civility, right? Between blue and
Yeah.
red, you know,
Right.
bridge the divide. And I mean, the dialogue that was happening then seems like a tea party, right? And I say tea party not being ironical, but like, you know, oh, you know, we shouldn't go to war there. Now it's like, you know, people got guns strapped on their backs and, you know, they're ready to take to the streets and over every single thing. Like you said, every single thing that happens is a line in the sand, and name calling and mud throwing is going on. And, you know, I fear for our country. Honestly, I fear for the inability to do that, you know, and I think to be hopeful in the midst of that, I have in the last year or so had good conversations with people that are more in the middle, right? Which I think most of us populate this area that's, you know, it might be a little over here, it might be a little over here, but it's this middle, right? We're not extremists.
Right.
And I was able to have really good, productive conversations with some people that aren't politically on my side of the fence. But, you know, I think that this administration has pulled out a lot of things that disgust a lot of us in that area. And so it gives us something to talk about, right? That we do see eye to eye on, right? Decency.
Right.
Right?
Right. Yeah.
Like, you might think differently than me, but we can be decent about that, right? I don't have to call your mother names and come up with every awful thing that I can say to you, right? Off
Civility, as you were saying, civility.
ability.
Yeah.
Yeah. And, you know, I always say, and I've said it for years, but the veil, you know, we talk about the veil of civility is razor thin, you know, I mean, and we're seeing that it's, you know, people will abandon that in a heartbeat. And so, you know, I think that being able to listen to each other and be decent, you know, to each other, treat each other with respect. We need to get back there. If we're
And
going
the
to
other
go.
thing that I've heard from you, and that is something that I really do remember from my very first interaction with you, and that was in probably like 2007, 2008,
Mhm.
when I saw Incommunicado in a bookstore, and I bought it, and I contacted you to tell you that I admire your work, and you know, and you answered to me, and you said, "Together we're stronger." And I remember that. And
Right.
yes, if we don't have this civility, there is no way that we can be together. There is no way we can be stronger, and there is no way that we can be humans. We can be good humans and good stewards of the earth and our own next step as a people who want to survive.
Well, yeah, because if a collective, and just in this instance, the United States of America, which we've agreed, right? We came together 250 years ago and said, this is the idea that we're here for, right? And we agree to this. We have all these rules and things that are going to govern that. if we don't have that, if we don't have that agreement, then you're right. You're in the streets with clubs, right? I
Right.
mean, there is no community, you know. I always go back to something I learned in college, the tragedy of the commons. It's a wonderful, and you've seen it probably coming up in articles nowadays. It's like once that first, you start off with this commons, everybody has one cow. Once that person over here decides I can go bonk my neighbor in the head and take their cow, I've got two cows. I'm better off, right? So once that self-preservation instinct triumphs everything, then we're in trouble. And I think that, we're seeing that play out right now. We have a leader who doesn't really have any ideas of how to govern. And so he inflames the things that divide us, that make us different. And it's really caused a lot of issues, and I hope that we have a path forward
You
starting
know,
very soon.
you know what I think we need? I think we need more literary events.
Amen.
Yeah, I totally want and need and miss
Yes.
literary events, but the live kind, So
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
so look forward to that.
No doubt. No doubt. Let's hope we make it there, right?
Yes, and we can relaunch all our books and we reread all our poems,
Right.
with the biggest
Yeah.
audiences ever. How
Right.
beautiful would that be?
Well, and this isolation that we've had to undergo, and like our governor here, who, thank goodness, we have someone who has common sense in the state to handle this, you know, Team Kentucky, stronger together, the same idea. Like, I think that there's going to be this, when we can finally get through this to a vaccine where people are safe, we can be in public again. There's going to be this, just like you said, this explosion of feeling, like you said, people yearning to be together and to share um, how we've been feeling, right? Because
Well, also
sharing.
to be in the energy of each other, to touch
Hug,
somebody
right?
else you haven't seen in a year. Oh yeah, the hug things. I'm a big connoisseur, so
I mean, it's like, that's so awful to be not able to do that, right? I mean,
yes, yeah.
just a simple confirmation of your being, it's just,
And to the pleasure of knowing that your smile is returned from another human being, which through the mask you cannot really tell.
right, right.
Yeah.
I do have a mask that my wife gave me. It's got a little plastic shield in there, and you can see
Oh,
the face.
that's great.
But it's just that plastic. It really fogs up, and it's a little uncomfortable. But you can see the
Yeah,
expression, which
yeah.
I think is lacking. I like to engage strangers when I'm out, with visual cues, smiles, hey, I'm not going to hurt you.
You are a
We're
good
all,
human, Eric Scott Sutherland. You're a good human and you're a
I applaud,
wonderful
I
poet.
try, to
Yeah.
be.
And I really appreciate you coming on Accents and
Thank you for having
reading
me.
your new poems and your classic poems. And I really appreciate your views on civility um, and our wishes for the future, to see each other in a safe way and to enjoy poetry again.
Yes, I agree. Thank you for having me.
Thank you.